Today, on my old school recommendation, I have The Hobbit from 1977. This animated adaptation of Tolkien's classic book is an amazing movie, and it is so nostalgic for me. But I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should check this movie out, okay? But first, go into the description and check out the link for a free fantasy ebook. You just download that right from the description, and remember to like and follow and share, subscribe, all that fun stuff for this YouTube channel to help me get some more great content out there to more people. All right, so let's do it. Welcome back to Great Stories Change the World. This is the YouTube channel where a fantasy science fiction author, that's me, reviews and goes over movies, TV shows, books, things like that, gives you recommendations and talks about why things are, or maybe they aren't, great stories. And I do this because I really believe that great stories have an impact. They do change the world. They change people's lives. Think about it. We've all had those stories or read those stories or watched those movies where it changed us. It was a significant event in our life, and we have those. Maybe it's only 1 or 2, but we all have them. So that's why I do this YouTube channel, and I do these old school recommendations, right? Because I am older and I have watched a lot of movies and I have read a lot of books, and I love to look at some of this old media because I think sometimes people don't know about it. So today we are going to talk about The Hobbit. Now this was made in 1977, and Rankin made this adaptation of the classic Tolkien novel, The Hobbit. Now, if you've been watching this YouTube channel, or maybe this is the first time you checked it out, but full disclosure, I am a huge Tolkien fan. I love The Hobbit, the book. I love The Lord of the Rings, the book. I love the movies, the Lord of the Rings movies. Those are amazing. But when we got into The Hobbit, when Jackson decided to make his version of The Hobbit, he turned a short book into 3 epic movies. And while I like them, and I've even watched them recently, it actually makes me a little nostalgic for the original 1977 animated version of this movie. And just to give you a little history, we've got Rankin and Bass, who were kind of 2 producers, and they made a lot of animated holiday specials, and they were famous for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and The Little Drummer Boy, some Christmas classics of stop-motion animation. But one of the guys really enjoyed Tolkien, and he really had been, influenced by Tolkien and loved The Hobbit, and he wanted to make a movie based on The Hobbit. Now, The Hobbit is a little different in its theme and its sort of age range. Tolkien wrote The Hobbit more as a kid's book, and he wrote The Lord of the Rings more for an adult audience in a sense of, the themes and the writing style. It wasn't necessarily a kid's book. It's a little bit more of a kid's focused book in The Hobbit. Now, so he wanted to make a TV movie or a movie version of it, and he got to make a TV version of this, and he made it animated. So instead of stop motion animation, he wanted to make it just with regular sort of hand-drawn cartoon style animation. So he got to work on it, and it came out in 1977, and it was a pretty big hit. Man, we watched this movie all the time when it was on Saturdays. When I was a kid, it would come on in the afternoons, or it would come on TV, and I would watch this every time it came on, and I fell in love with this movie. And the movie is why I ended up reading The Hobbit, the book, and The Lord of the Rings, because there wasn't The Lord of the Rings yet, and it was way into the 2000s, right, when those came out. So this was a hugely influential book, and it really kind of helped to place The Hobbit, at least, if not to some degree, The Lord of the Rings out into the mainstream. But that really didn't happen until later with Peter Jackson. So I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should watch this version of it. It's about an hour and a half long. And yet, it's really sort of a special movie. And here's 3 reasons why you should go back, if you haven't yet, check it out. Look for it on streaming, rent it, or whatever. All right? So number 1, the animation is amazing. All right, so if you watch this animation, it's very detail oriented. The style is very unique. This didn't look like Disney. This didn't look like other forms of animation out there, or Saturday morning cartoons, or those sort of things. This had its own sort of style, and Rankin Bass employed a Japanese animator or animation company to do this, and it was called Topcraft. Now, you may not know who Topcraft is, because they changed their name to Studio Ghibli. And man, I love Studio Ghibli animation. I love Japanese animation. I love anime. Now this movie, The Hobbit, isn't really anime at all, really. It's got its own sort of style. And yet it has some of those Japanese animation elements to it, and you can kind of see it when you look at it. So the animation is incredible. It holds up. I watched this movie recently, a couple months ago, and man, this movie holds up animation-wise, right? So that's number one. That's the first reason. Number two, it was really faithful to the original book. Now, he cut a couple things out, and I really would have loved to have had a couple parts put back in there, and they kind of move through some different parts that a little quickly. But you know, you had an hour and a half, and if you know what it takes to take a book and make it a movie, you got to cut stuff out. You have to adapt things for pacing and other things, because the pacing in a novel is different. You get to have times of sort of reflection and processing, and then you get into more action, and it's a little different. You can be in the heads of certain characters more when you're in a novel, but in a movie it's more visual, and so you kind of have to keep things moving in a way that keeps people interested. And again, they were limited to the TV movie format and time frame. But and let's talk about this for a second, because this is Great Stories Change the World. And this is one of the reasons why when I watch the Jackson version of The Hobbit, I want to end up going back and watch this animated version. See, here's something that people don't realize about limitations. When you have, let's say, you're only going to tell a story in an hour and a half. Well, you really have to pick and choose what you're going to say. You have to pick and choose the characters you're going to focus on. You have to pick and choose the themes. You have to really be efficient in what you do. So by the time Jackson got into The Hobbit, he was given carte blanche, right? And this is a little bit of the problem that we have with the prequels from George Lucas. Sometimes a filmmaker or creator, they get so popular, it doesn't matter what they do. So there aren't really any limitations on what they do, and so they kind of put out stuff that isn't very good because they get to do whatever they want, and you don't have that sort of tight, well-paced, well-crafted story that becomes really popular. Now, the Lord of the Rings movies, as long as they were, especially the theatrical versions, were tight. I mean, there's so much in that trilogy that you could have put in there, and they still didn't put in Tom Bombadil and some other things, right? So adapting this book into a movie of about an hour and a half was really masterfully done. Yeah, they had to cut out a couple parts, but I still love the flow of the movie and the art, especially. Man, I love there's one scene when Bilbo is in the forest, and they're about to get attacked by the spiders, and he goes up above the trees. He climbs a tree and he goes above the canopy, and there's butterflies. There's just some really amazing moments in this animated version. All right, so that's number two. Number three, it was faithful to the story. Okay. And it's faithful to the feel. And this is something that I think Jackson did for the most part, but because there was only an hour and a half, they were able to really focus on the main theme of the book and really explore that theme. So Bilbo is the main character, and it's really sort of told from his point of view, and you don't really get to explore a lot of the side characters in the novel. Well, when you've got 9 hours or something, however long the 3 Hobbit movies are, you explore, you make up new characters, Toriel, and some of that's cool, but really you got to give some credit to this adaptation because he really stayed true to the core of the issue in The Hobbit, which is here you have a person who is fine. He's completely happy with just home and hearth and good food and good ale and a good pipe. He's just happy with a regular, contented life. And here he is thrust into this epic story where everyone is greedy. And there's even a battle at the end over all this wealth. And so he's thrust into this world with all this wealth. And the theme of The Hobbit is, by the way, the evil of greed, the evil of wealth, and its effect on people, its effect on the dwarves, its effect on the orcs, its effect on the elves. And they bring some of that out in the movies, but when you have this hour and a half and you're really able to focus on these issues, this one main issue, this one main theme that's really clear in the book, and they make it very clear here in the adaptation from 1977. Now, this movie, if you think, well, how good is this movie really? It's old, right? Can it be that old? Well, obviously, it's animated, so it's in color. It's not like it's in black and white or anything. And you don't have some of the dated special effects or anything like that. So another great thing that's cool about it being faithful to the original book is he puts some songs in there. And they do that a little bit in the Lord of the Rings movies. But when you think about it, some people just skip them in the books, but here Rankin Bass actually bring in some actual lyrics from songs from the book, and they make little songs, and they have little songs, these little interludes in the movie, which again, it's a very tight movie, but they still take time to be faithful to the original. And you can really tell that the people who made, Rankin Bass, who made this adaptation in 1977 loved Tolkien. You can tell, you can feel it, you can feel this. It's like they had a passion to tell this story. Out of all the stories they could have put all this money into, I think it cost $3 million at the time, which for a TV movie was a lot of money. And you know, they got Japanese animators, they got some of the best animators, and they did so much really cool stuff. Now, there's even a really cool song called The Greatest Adventure. And it was not really a big hit, but it was one of those sort of songs that went along with the movie. And they did that a little bit more in the 70s, and it was really cool. So those are my 3 reasons why you should watch this version of The Hobbit if you haven't. Great animation. Number 2, it's a great adaptation to the screen in the sense of how they were able to pick and choose. And then also it's very faithful to the original theme and the original idea and vibe and intent that Tolkien had when he made The Hobbit. All right, so you let me know what you think of it. If you've seen it before, let me know what you think. I know it's only got like a 5 or a 6 on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes or something. It doesn't have a great score on some of these services, but and these platforms. But I'm telling you, it's my recommendation to you, and check it out for the reasons I said. But you let me know what you think of it. All right, put it in the comments. Remember to like, follow, share, subscribe. Remember to go down into the description and click a link for a free ebook. Follow me on Facebook, all right? And follow me on TikTok, all right? Let's talk, all right? Let's see you later. Bye.